Alright, so this video, gentlemen, is probably one of the most important videos that you can watch and that you can learn from in case you are someone who is lacking productivity, in case you are someone who has approach anxiety, in case you are someone who is not finding it motivating or inspiring enough to go to the gym and get some workout in. This video is going to change your perspective. This video is going to make it a whole lot more easier and practical for you. Because you see, the inspiration of today's video is this book called Flow, The Psychology of Happiness, and the author's name is quite funny. I mean, I cannot really pronounce it, but you can just Google it out or you can check the link in the description box and you can get this book called Flow, The Psychology of Happiness. One of the most amazing books to read when you really want to get in the flow of absolute productivity or madness or controlled madness in that context. So, in case you're someone who's lacking motivation, in case you're someone who don't know how to be motivated for anything, any task at given hand, then this is going to change your life quite easy. So let's get into it. Let's talk all about it. Gentlemen, my name is Mayank Bhattacharya. This is Men's Essentials. Let's roll. Okay, so the point or the theory of this video is the whole balance sheet between your skill set and the challenges. You see, when you draw two axes on the linear equation or the linear equation graph, the x and the y axis, let's assume the x axis to be our skill set and let's assume the y axis to be the challenges or the problems at hand. Now, when x is 0 and y is 0, meaning when your skill set and your challenge is absolutely the same, then you're at absolute apathy. And apathy, if you don't know, means you're just not interested, motivated or excited in your life. You just don't want to do anything. You're just sitting idle because the skills you have and the challenges you're about to face or facing currently are just not enough for you to move the needle or go up the graph. Now, to be in a state of flow or to be in a constant state of productivity and absolute controlled chaos, you have to be in a state of flow where the linear equation is x equals y equals 1, where xy both has a similar constant or same constant value, so that you can see the positive increment all the time when you are in an absolute constant state of flow where everything just happens like the way you would want it to happen. I mean, you're getting business deals out of nowhere, you're closing clients, you're approaching chicks, you're doing everything that you can because the flow that you are in is your absolute truest best self. How do we maintain that xy equals 1? How do we maintain that absolute flow state of mind? Well, let's talk all about it. Well, there are two ways actually. One quite easy, the other one absolute crazy, but let's talk all about it. Now, before we get into the detailed description of why do you want to be in the state of flow, let's discuss and let's address why is it so important for you to be in the state of flow and what happens when you're not in the state of flow. What happens when x equals 3 and y equals 1, and what happens when x equals 1 and y equals 5? Well, a lot of maths, a lot of linear equation, but here's how it is in the simple layman's language. See, when your skill set or the graph on the x-axis is far exceeding the value of the y-axis, then you will be very nostalgic, you will be absolutely excited for the very first 5-10 minutes, and then at the end of it, then eventually you'll be bored out of your mind. Why? Because your skill set is far exceeding the challenges in hand. When your challenge axis, the y-axis is not equivalent to your x-axis, when the value of y is not equal to your x value, when the challenge is not as difficult as your improved, sophisticated and self-developed skill, then you will not be enjoying the process, you will not be excited for the process, you will not be excited to be in the state of flow. You will not be in the state of flow because your challenge is not all that exciting as the skill set that you have. The y-axis is not equivalent, or the y-axis, the challenges on the y-axis is not congruent to the things, to your skill set on the x-axis. I hope it makes sense. I hope you are getting it easy. If not, let me explain it to you one more time. If your skill set is far exceeding the challenges in hand, then eventually you will be so bored at the challenges that you are doing that you will not feel like doing it anymore. For example, you are trying to run 2 kilometers every day when you are a marathon runner. That's not exciting for you. You'll get bored of running. For example, you are trying to go to the gym and squat maybe 135, 150 pounds where you actually squat 250 pounds on an average daily squat routine. That will be boring. That will not be exciting for you. So you'll get bored. You'll stop going to the gym altogether. For example, when you're trying to do a job which is not exciting to you because the y-axis ka challenges of your work is not as exciting or is not congruent to the amazing skill sets that you have developed or that you have. These two axes needs to be aligned or congruent to each other. They have to make sense of each other. Therefore, your challenges and your skill set must be of the same value. Actually, your y-axis should always be a bit higher than your x value. Your challenges should just be a bit higher than your skill sets that you have. Let's talk all about that in the second case point. Because if you notice, I say the y-axis value, the challenges must be just a little difficult, not a whole bunch. Because what happens when the challenges in hand are crazy difficult than the skill sets you currently have? I mean, this happens a whole bunch in businesses, fitness, or when you plan to go out and talk to some unknown random women. You see, when you don't really have the skill set in hand to go to the gym and maybe squat 500 pounds, you'll not be able to do it. So if you're putting yourself to this apparent challenge where you're like, I'll deadlift 500 kilos, where I cannot even deadlift 100 kilos for now, you'll be absolutely crazy anxious about the process. You'll start doubting yourself, you'll start being in your own head, and you'll screw up the entire process. Same happens to your business, same happens with women. When you're trying to start a new business, when the challenge is so up high that you don't even have the skill set to do it, then guess what? You'll be super anxious throughout the process. You'll not even attempt to do the thing, and it'll just make you do nothing and sit idle and be absolutely unproductive. I don't want you to make that mistake. Same applies when you're trying to go out and talk to a woman. If you don't really have a skill set of going and talking to women, if you don't really know the basics of game or social dynamics, then guess what? Talking to this amazingly cute chick will be a very difficult task. You'll start developing this approach anxiety, you'll start getting in your head, you'll start thinking 500 things besides just doing this very basic thing that you can to help you ease out the process. Now, what is that one thing we can do? What is that one easy tip that we can learn and that we can master and include in our life to be in a constant state of flow? Well, easy. Step number one, or example number one, we can make sure our challenges, the y-axis challenges, are just on a bit incremental than the skill sets that we have. So if the x value is 0, we'll make sure our y is at 1. If our x-axis is at 3, we'll make sure our y-axis is at 4, or things like that. Gentlemen, as long as the graph is going up, we are on a steady path of progress. That's one of the easiest way to make things happen. I mean, there is a concept in fitness called progressive overload. It just applies to everything else in life. If you want to get stronger in the gym, you have to progressively start overloading the weight. If you want to get good at fitness, if you want to get good at business, you'll obviously have to progressively overload your skill set in business, fitness, or wherever it may be. Because see, if you're someone who's super busy, or if you're someone who's super anxious to go to the gym, guess what? You can just do this very basic thing of maybe going to the gym twice a week. Just take 2 days out, or just take 1 day out in a week and go to the gym, and make that a habit in your life. If you can go to the gym 4 days in a month, in every week of the month, then guess what? You actually worked out 4 days in a week, which is a whole lot more than 0. So you are going up the ladder, you are going to get in a state of flow. Now, what can happen the next month? You can progressively overload. You can make the challenge a bit more difficult by adding another day of the week in your workout routine. Now you're working out twice a week. Now you're working out 8 days in a month. Eventually you can amp it up to 3 days, 4 days, and see how it goes. Now, what did we do here? We just progressed our challenges. We just amped up our challenges in congruency to our skill sets. As long as we are in the gym and learning the whole basics of working out, we can keep amping up the number of workouts we are doing every week, and we can keep it exciting, and we can keep it challenging for us, therefore putting us in a state of flow. As if we always want to be there, we always want to work out. Gentlemen, that's the point. That's what I'm trying to explain. The same applies to your business. If you really want to start a $1 million business, if you really want to start a $1 million company, why don't you start small? Why don't you start low? Why don't you start with maybe a $10,000 business, maybe a $50,000 business, a $100,000 business, $250,000 business, and eventually grow it up to the 7 crore ka business which you plan to. Or the same applies to approaching women and getting good at social dynamics. If you are so scared or so anxious to go talk to a random woman, a very cute woman, why don't you start doing it by talking to random guys? Or why don't you start looking at things differently and start talking to any woman who comes to your mind? No, she does not need to be a supermodel. She does not need to be a crazy cute chick. You can put yourself in the flow, you can put yourself in the process, you can put yourself in the state by constantly keeping at it. But hey, this is one way to handle things. This is one way to get in the state of flow. But this takes some time, and this is a long over the period of time in progress. I mean, this is sure exciting, this is sure as hell a lot of fun, but this takes some time as well. Now, what is the other way? What is a more instantaneous way to put yourself in the flow like that? Well, this is going to blow your mind quite easy. Go out and do the most difficult thing that is in the challenge list for the given task. For example, if you are starting to run a business, go out, make a business plan. First of all, make sure you have the skill set for it, and then go out, make a business plan, and make sure it's a $1 million business plan, and start seeking investors and make it a $1 million company. If you hit the goal, if you hit the craziest goal the very first time, then guess what? You are already putting yourself in a state of flow. Because after that, there is no going back. There is no going back to your old self, because you have forced yourself to be in a state of flow. If you are new to working out, if you are new to fitness, guess what? Force yourself to go to the gym 6 days in a week, or 5 days in a week, or at least 4 days in a week, and see yourself in the flow, in a forced situation. If you're out there talking to a woman, if you're out there in a bar or in a club or in a mall for that matter, or in your college for that matter, talk to the most hottest chick talk to the most cutest woman around, and see yourself forced in a state of flow. This is quite easy. This is a lot more instantaneous and fast, but you need to have the skill set to do it. If you do have the skill set, then this is quite easy, this is quite instant. And I honestly think a man should try both these things in their life at least once and for all. One of the most underrated aspects of personal development, one of the most underrated trait of your personal development, and to be in an absolute productive phase, to be the most charming gent, and to be this guy who everyone wants to be around because he's super productive, he's extremely passionate, he's in the zone, and he is always charming and exciting to be around with. Why? Because he makes sure the challenges in hand are a bit higher than the skill sets he has, or he just goes all in and does the most difficult thing that he can do to force himself to be in a state of flow. I hope it helps. I hope this video inspires you to be in your state of flow, because gentlemen, if you haven't tried this thing yet, if you haven't practiced this thing yet, in case you haven't experienced flow yet, try it once, just seek it once and taste it once in your life, because once you actually live it, once you're actually in the state of flow, you will know what I'm talking about. Your subconscious just takes over, your logical brain just turns off. You lose a sense of time, everything will slow down, you will be super sharp, super aware, and you will be doing things the 10x way where you can't even think of doing things that way ever in your life. That's the beauty of being in a flow. That's the reason I would always want you to be in a flow. You can't always be in a state of flow, but at least you can try being at it the most amount of time. Anyway, I'll try to get in my flow. I think I'm getting in my flow of productivity. So I'll keep at it. I'll see you in the next one, gentlemen. Dress up, stay strong, stay stylish, find your flow, keep at it, keep your flow state of mind all the time. And yes, before I go, do not forget to get yourself a nice bracelet. In case you haven't, we only have a few handy pieces left, but I'll see you in the next